Hello and welcome to another video, and today I wanted to talk about X018, the return of Microsoft's kind of fan fest thing that they used to do back in the early to mid 2000s that they've abandoned for the last 10-12 years. So let's talk about X018. Was it good? Was it what people wanted? In a year that has that absence of the PlayStation experience, which I would equivalent to the same type of thing. Did Microsoft bring their A game to this thing? Was this thing worth anyone's time? Well, that depends on how much of an Xbox fan you are, I guess, and a fan of some of their first-party titles. So, first thing I want to say here is I want to be as positive as I can about it, because I do think that it's a really good step in the right direction for Microsoft and for the Xbox brand, but I have to say this whole entire 2-hour show was kind of disappointing, and the reason for that is they just don't have big games to really talk about. And if you look back at, E3, I think you kind of got the same story here of, hey, we have all these studio acquisitions and we're building things up for the next generation Xbox here, which will probably be 2020, but they don't have anything to really show right now. So you have to fall back on exclusive games that are coming in 2019, at least in the early part. And the only real exclusive game they could fall back on was Crackdown 3. And again, I am a huge Crackdown fan. I love the original game, not so much the second one. I've been excited for this game since they announced it in 2014, but they announced it way too early, and time has kind of told that story as we've moved on here. It is nice to see that Crackdown 3 is getting a full release date, February 15, 2019, and you can already preload it if you're a Game Pass owner. That was really it for new exclusive games that people would maybe care about. I'm talking a big first-party title. They had some other little indie titles that are coming to Game Pass, and that's cool and everything, but that leads me to my second bullet point here, which is one of the biggest flaws of this show was it really just felt like a 2-hour Game Pass advertisement. Now, yes, full disclosure, I am a Game Pass member. I have been since day one. I really like the Game Pass service. I think it's really awesome. I think it's an incredible value if you're an Xbox owner. Putting that aside, this whole show seemed to be catered around, hey, look at Game Pass. Look what we're bringing to Game Pass. Hey, get Game Pass. Game Pass was probably mentioned over 100 different times. Every single ad talked about it. They even had a part of this show just dedicated to announcing the next big 16 games coming to Game Pass, including PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, which is personally kind of a laugh because that game's ass is getting kicked by Fortnite and Call of Duty's Blackout mode. So it makes sense that that game's going to hit Game Pass now, and that will definitely boost numbers in those games, don't get me wrong, but that's not really a big deal for someone who already owns that game, and if we're being honest, it's a really bad version of that game that still is not on par with the PC version. And I'm not a PC elitist, I'm just saying it's bad. And that was your show. I mean, you had 2 hours of little announcements for Game Pass and then talking about exclusive DLC coming for titles that, honestly, I don't know if a lot of people care about them. Do people still care about Sea of Thieves? Do people still care about State of Decay 2? I tried and played these games because I have Game Pass, so I can play them day one, and I've got to be honest, like Sea of Thieves, you guys saw my review. I thought it was very promising, but doesn't really seem like a lot of content has been added to that game in the last 8 months that would make me want to go back to it. And on the other side of things, State of Decay 2 I thought was a broken mess when it launched, and while I do know that they've patched that since then, I don't know if I really care to ever return to it. I just have so many other things to play and enjoy right now that I don't want to waste my time with something that's mediocre. And that was a big thing. I mean, they had some Forza Horizon 4 DLC. They had little things for, hey, here's our titles we have right now. Here's some DLC. Another really cool announcement if you haven't played it, Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice is coming to Game Pass, and it's also getting a physical copy in December. That's really cool, and that game is pretty awesome. But again, that's only because they bought the studio Ninja Theory, so that's why that happened. It's just, it was a very mixed bag of a show. They brought out the producer from Square Enix who's making Kingdom Hearts 3, and they talked about that for a little bit. As you guys know, I don't care about Kingdom Hearts, so that was kind of a wash for me. And then they announced backwards compatibility for the Final Fantasy 13 trilogy, which if you have an Xbox One X, is up-res to 4K, and that's really cool, and that's really exciting. However, I don't want to play those games right now. And I don't know who that announcement really is for, especially when we're in a busy holiday season with a lot of big titles coming out. But that's cool and that's awesome. So X018 then closed with the announcement of 2 more studio acquisitions, which are inXile, the people that made Wasteland 2, and Obsidian Entertainment, the people that made Fallout New Vegas and Knights of the Old Republic 2. And both of these are really awesome and potentially great studio acquisitions, but again, where were the big announcements? You know, I was expecting something on a magnitude of like, hey, here's a new Splinter Cell, you know, or something like that. There was no big, real huge announcement other than stuff that I feel like could have just been thrown into a press release. And while I think that the idea of a Xbox Fan Fest is awesome because it's something that people have been clamoring for the past couple years since PlayStation started having their own experience, Microsoft right now just doesn't have the first-party titles to warrant having a show like this. And that's why it just came off kind of awkward. And I'll make the same complaint I make about the PlayStation experience, which is you get a lot of the fans in there cheering and hooting and hollering all the time, and it just comes off incredibly fake. And the same thing happens in the PlayStation experience, don't get me wrong, but here it seemed maxed out at 11 to a degree at times, and it was really, really weird. So X018, it was fun, but it was unnecessary. I really feel like they could have just thrown all that in a press release and said, whatever. The Game Pass stuff is awesome, and again, and this is not an ad for Game Pass, I think Game Pass is an awesome service, and I think if you're an Xbox owner, it's incredibly worth your money. The value is insane there. You know, I would have never played Forza Horizon 4, and that's a game that's going to probably crack my top 10 this year because I liked it that much. I don't like racing games, and I probably played about 30 hours of that game. So the bottom line here is X018, basically my overall thoughts on that is it was okay. It lays a good blueprint for something they can work with, but if you didn't watch it, you really didn't miss anything that you could read on like an IGN headline or something. So anyways, guys, those are my thoughts and opinions on the X018 conference. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Did you guys like it? Did you guys hate it? Did you think it was a waste of time? And as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.